And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Five Finger Severance is a game in which you are a slacker. One of my friends said that this was Clerks, the board game. Now, I have to be frank, these are the kind of people that I kind of despise, but, you know, I also despise a lot of the people that I play in board games, so I guess that shouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. But what you're doing in this game is you're a slacker. This game should have been called Slackers. But you're a slacker working at a convenience store, and your job is to A, tick off the customers, B, slack, C, steal, D, get fired, but when you're good and ready to get fired. The more slacking, the more points you get, etc. Let me show you how the game works, and I'll tell you if it's good. Here is the joyous convenience store where you work. Each player is going to be given one character that they are going to play over the course of the turn. It gives you a special ability. Like, for example, Locke can insult customers in another spot, while Wendy can draw 8 cards every time and discard down to 5. Lucy can steal 2 items when she steals. And so you take a figure for your person, and they start in a certain spot on the board. And what's going to happen is, what we have here are plot cards. And these cards are going to show up, and they are going to do different things. And I'm going to explain that in a moment. But they'll go in different spots. For example, there's an off-duty cop, and he hangs around in the fountain area. And they'll go to different parts of the store. You also have your boss who's walking around the store, being a pain in everyone's neck. Although, as far as I can tell, he's doing what he should be doing, working with a bunch of losers. Players are also going to have a bunch of these cards here that they'll be able to play different times. That will allow them to do anything. They move the boss any location they want. Play this card on the same spot as a boss. Raise someone else's heat. Different cards that basically let you move the boss around. And other things. Each player has heat on this heat track down here. And every time you do different actions, you're likely to get heat. Sometimes the boss will just catch you slacking off and you'll get heat. When your heat gets to 30, you're out of the game. Not necessarily having lost, though. Now, when a player's turn comes up, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to draw one of these work marker here, and they're going to put this somewhere on the board. So, for example, this is a soccer mom just showed up at the store, and she can either go into aisle 3 or into aisle 4, or aisle 2 or aisle 3. So you can place her in either aisle. And then after that, the player has 2 actions that they can do. Now, one action can be moving from one location to any other location on the board. Another action can be insulting a customer. So, for example, if you're in the same spot as her, you can insult her. If you insult her, you get 2 heat, so we would increase your heat by 2, but I get 3 points, and I put this card in front of me for the end of the game scoring. Or I can help her, which will subtract 2 heat from me, but discard her and doesn't give any points, but it can keep your heat down. And so you have all different sorts of customers that are in the game that can help you. You can also have work. If here you're supposed to restock the cigarettes. So if you're in that area, you can do that work and it will reduce your heat by 1. And if the boss happens to be in your area, he likes it. You reduce by 2. If you're in an area, you can steal an item. There's items here and you can steal the top item. And that's worth points. But however, these items are not worth points. You have to go back to the storeroom when the boss is not in the storeroom and store all these that you have stolen into your locker. You can steal stuff from the cooler. You can steal stuff from the register, and different things are worth different points. However, if you have anything stolen and the boss is in your area, or if you've been slacking in general and the boss is in your area, or someone sends the boss to your area, that's another action you can do, is move the boss to your area, or you can send him, if he's in your area, to someone else, tattle on them. Then you'll be making a suspicion roll, and the more stolen stuff that you're carrying, the higher suspicion, and he might catch you, in which case you lose all the stuff. It gets stuck in his office. Of course, you can go back and steal it from there if you want. And you get heat. Other cards that will show up in the game, some things just make everybody get heat. All players will gain heat. Sometimes the boss is moved around. And sometimes there's slacking that can be done. Here you can play video games in aisle 3. So you put this card here, and if I move there, I can start slacking, and I'll add slacker tokens to this each time until I decide to get off of it. And the problem is, if the boss comes by, there's extra suspicion. He looks at you, what are you doing? But when I'm done, I'll get 1 point for every slacker token that I put on this. There are some things that are so bad that when you do them, you'll get a lot of points, but then you're immediately fired because it's so bad. Steal the computer, breaking into the ATM, shutting down the registers with fireworks, etc. Now, when you're fired, anything that you've stolen that you've not yet stored is gone. But all the stuff you've stored and all the customers you installed it and all the slacking points that you've gotten, you keep those. The game is over when everybody but one person has been fired. At that point, everyone totals up their points, and whoever has the most points is the winner, I guess. If you consider being a loser a winner, which I guess in this game you do. I'm a little torn here on my final ranking of this game. On one hand, I can see the humor of it, okay? It's funny that you're playing video games in the middle of the store. It's funny to insult the customer. It's funny how there's one customer who you don't want to insult. The artwork is humorous, and the idea is interesting. But this is, I think, one of those games that you'll play once, twice, 3 times, and it's funny. And then the 4th time, the humor will start wearing off. And then you'll look at the game mechanics, and they're kind of just there. They're not really balanced. All the good stuff to steal is behind the register. The cards are kind of totally around the board. The powers that the different characters have don't necessarily seem to be in tune with each other. The manager just... there's no rhyme or reason to what he does, and you could say it's part of the charm of the game, but it makes playing the game almost an exercise in luck. Oh, is he going to show up or not? So I don't dislike it. I like, ganging up and, making the manager shoot towards other players, but it's almost so chaotic that it's just not something I'm going to want to play all the time, or much at all. The humor is interesting, and I give them a lot of props for coming up with an original theme to a game. The artwork is good. I like how the whole thing is laid out. And I can see that there will be an audience for this. It's probably just not me.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.
Yeah.